ABC sounds, reading. All right, welcome to the most important lesson of your Spanish life. This lesson will teach you how to read with correct pronunciation. If you try to study Spanish without it, everything will be harder and slower. If you learn pronunciation first and then start studying Spanish, everything will be faster and easier. So, this one lesson can cut your learning curve down in half or more. Just one lesson right here. Okay, so let's get started. Let's take a look. All right, so first thing, get a piece of paper and on the top of it write reading cheat sheet. And as you watch this video, take notes and use this cheat sheet whenever you're practicing reading, whether you're doing the flashcards or in a class, anything. Always keep your cheat sheet until you've mastered Spanish pronunciation. Okay? And I will say this again, I've said it before in other videos, but pronunciation and accent are not the same thing. Okay? You can have a gringo accent but still say it properly, and that's most important. They will understand you just in the same way as you can have a Texas accent, a New York, California, Australia, right? Britain. These are different English accents. You can have different accents in Spanish, but they all pronounce correctly. All right? So we're learning pronunciation, not accent. Okay, so here's the good news about Spanish pronunciation. It's much easier than English. Why? It's a phonetic language. That means it sounds the way it's spelled. Okay, so if you learn the rules, which we're going to show you right now, you can read anything. And the second reason it's easy to learn Spanish is you already know the pronunciation. You already know all the sounds. The only sound you don't know and that we don't have in English is the R. R, okay? ABC sounds, reading. All right, welcome to the most important lesson in your Spanish journey, how to read. So, if you try to learn Spanish without pronunciation first, everything you study will be harder and slower. If you learn this and then start studying Spanish, everything will be faster and easier. So, this one lesson can cut your learning time down in half or more. That's how important it is. So before you start memorizing any words, first learn the sounds and how to read. Okay? So let's get into it. All right. So I first want to make sure you are ready to take notes. So get a piece of paper and on the top put reading cheat sheet. All right? That's number one. So you're going to use this cheat sheet anytime you are reading and practicing until you've mastered it. Whether you're in class or with a friend or a tutor or with your flashcards, wherever you're reading and practicing, have that cheat sheet with you. That will help. All right. So, second of all, we're talking about pronunciation, not accent. I've said this in other videos, but it's not the same thing. So basically, in English, I can have a Texas, New York, California, British, Australian accent, but I pronounce the same. I can read the words and I read them the way they're written in English. Same with Spanish. You can have Mexican, Dominican, Costa Rican, Argentinian, right? You can have all these accents, but they read the letters with the correct pronunciation. Okay, so that's important. A gringo accent is not a big deal. As long as they understand what you're saying, that's our goal of proper pronunciation. Okay. Now, there are two reasons why it's much easier to learn Spanish pronunciation, much easier than it is to learn English pronunciation. Number one, it's a phonetic language, which means it sounds the way it's spelled. And number two, because we already have all the sounds in English, except for the R. That is the only sound we don't have in English. Everything else we have in English, just with different letters. So really what this is an exercise of being able to see different letters and say different sounds than we're used to in English, but we have all the sounds. All right? That's the key. So here we go. Get your notes out, get ready, and let's begin. Okay. So I'm going to start with the vowels. And you can pause this. I'm going to go, quickly through it, but just pause it and repeat out loud. All right? And then press play again. Okay? So I'm going to zoom in here like this. And here we go. Repeat after me. A, E, I, O, U. All right. Funny enough, that's also the name of those letters. So if you remember from ABC names, that lesson, the name and the sound of the vowels is the same. A, E, I, O, U. Okay. So write them down on your reading cheat sheet. And next to them, put a little phonetic, a little note. Whatever makes sense to you. A, E, O, U. Whatever makes sense to you, all right? That makes sense. A, E, O, U. Okay? As long as you pronounce them correctly, your notes are for you. Good. Now, repeat the words after me. The first column has a word that starts with the letter. The second column has a word with the letter in the middle of it. Here we go. Abrir, andar. Bañar, hablar. Comer, acabar. Decir, aceptar. Hacer, dirección. All right, the C, or the Spanish C, has two sounds, called the hard C and the soft C. The hard C is like a K, comer, and the soft C is like an S, decir. And the rule is if the C is followed by an E or an I, it will always be soft like an S. Decir, aceptar, hacer. And you can see this word, dirección, has a hard C and a soft C. Direct, hard C, sion, soft C. Okay, so these are the soft C's. Everything else is a hard C. Good. Chocar, planchar. Dar, quedar. Escribir, poder. 777. So the A in Spanish has two sounds. It's called the full A and the half E. Think of it like A. All right? So to hear it, listen to this word, siete. Siete. You hear the subtle difference? Siete. It's not siete, siete. Okay? This is the only letter without a rule. All right? So basically, just go with what sounds best. Would you say escribir or escribir? All right? Escribir, most people would say. Not a big deal if you get it wrong, because it's Latin Spanish speakers, they don't even hear the difference really well. It's hard for most of them to even, when I talk to my team about it, they're like, we barely hear the difference. Right? To them, their ear is not accustomed to that difference. That's why there is no rule. Okay? But for us, we hear a subtle difference. So that's why I bring it up. All right? But it doesn't matter if you just go with whatever sounds best. Faltar, ofrecer. Gustar, agarrar. Okay? So here, agitar, ángel. The G, or the Spanish hey, has two sounds, called the hard G and the soft G. Okay? G, gustar, that's a hard G. And agitar is the soft G. And the rule is if the G is followed by the E or the I, it's going to be soft like an H. Hey and he. Ahitar on hell. Okay? Soft G's. Anything else? Hard G. Muy bien. Hacer ahorrar. All right. The H has two is silent. Excuse me. Is always silent unless it's with che. All right. So there we go. All right. So this word ahorrar. Okay. If you can't roll your R's, ahorrar is okay. All right. But that H is silent. Ahorrar. If I say it fast, ahorrar. Okay. Ir, pedir. Jugar, empujar. The J sounds like an English H. It's the exact same sound as the soft G. Empujar, agitar, both make the English H sound. Kilo, tikal. Leer, alcanzar. Llevar, fallar. Okay, the double L sounds like an English Y, but in some regions and countries, it can sound like a J or a she. It can be llevar, llevar, chevar. They're all correct. In Colombia, it's more llevar. In Argentina, it's more chevar. And regionally, it can be any of those. All right? There is no wrong answer. Go with what you prefer. I prefer the Y sound because it's easier. So that's what we teach. All right? But there is no wrong answer. Muy bien. Mirar, empezar. Narrar, pensar. Enseñar, engañar. The ñe sounds like an English NY. So imagine I put a Y there. Engañar. That's how that letter is pronounced, like an NY. Okay? Oler, poder. Poner, escapar. Querer, poquito. Romper, perder. Correr, borrar. If you can't roll the R's, correr, borrar is fine. They'll understand you. Salir, ponerse. A little note on that. I haven't found a super effective teaching tool for rolling the R's. For some people it's easy, some it's hard. But I have been told by our team, like one of our team members' grandma used to put a pencil in their mouth and make them have to say the double R's. Correr, borrar. So if you want to try that trick, that's the only trick I've heard that maybe will help. Okay? Salir, ponerse. Tomar, sentir. Usar, gustar. Que, ki, ge, gi. We'll come to this one in a minute. Okay? But let's start with these. Que, ki, ge, gi. These are what are called the silent U's. The normal U is U. Usar. Okay? These are silent. So instead of que, it's ke. Ki. Ge. Gi. All right? Only these four are the only four silent ones. Everything else you pronounce the U. And this one is gue. You pronounce the U. When the two dots are there, you pronounce the U. Gue. Okay? So it basically negates the rule for the silent U here, and you pronounce it. All right? So write these down. Ke, ki, ge, gi, and put a little phonetic. K to remind you. Ki, ge, and gi. I like to say like the butter. Ghee butter. Or geese. Or whatever makes sense to you. All right? Put a little note on how to say the silent U's. Venir, volver. 20. All right? Some people say 20 or 20. Okay? A V or a B sound here. That's kind of a one-off. This, you can always go with the V sound, venir, volver, veinte, and they will understand you perfectly well. But sometimes you'll hear some words with a B sound, and that's your choice. If you want to copy them and sound, however the locals say it, veinte, great. But go with the V sound is always a safe choice. All right? Muy bien. Hawaiano, kiwi. All right? The W is an English letter, not a Spanish one, so you'll only see it with English words. All right? Xilofón, explicar, México. Right? The X, the normal X sound is like explicar, X. Xilofón and Mexico sound different because those words come from other languages. Xilofón comes from English, and Mexico comes from an indigenous language. All right? So there are no rules for those because they're not from the Spanish language originally. All right? So there's a lot of places in Central America with Mayan names like Oaxaca. Okay? And for those, there are no rules. You have to just ask the locals how to say it. It could sound like an X, a Z, a J, an H, anything. Okay? There are no rules because it doesn't come from Spanish. Otherwise, normal Spanish words will be like explicar, X. Yo soy. All right? And the Y can sound like a Y, J, or she, just like the double L. Yo, Joe, show. Depending on what country you're in and their accent. All right? Either way, it's all correct. The Y can also be a consonant or a vowel, just like English. So you can say my, you, and my, or yo and soy. All right? So if the Y is before a vowel, it'll be a consonant. If it's after a vowel, it'll sound like a vowel. Cool? Zumba, mezclar. The Z or the zeta sounds like an S. Zumba, not zumba. Zumba. All right, let's practice the C, G, and U because those give us the most trouble. Here we go. All right, these are the rule breakers. Here we go. Ko, ka, ku, say, si. Go, ga, gu, hey, he. All right, so the soft C and the soft G there. Silent U, okay? In green, they're silent. In red, they're normal. Quo, qua, que, qui. So if I say it real slowly, it's quo, quo, qua, qua, que, qui. Okay? Guo, gua, ge, gi. Quo, qua, que, ki. Good. All right. Let's practice a few. Cuánto cuesta? Cuidado cuota. Guapo sigue. Siguiente antiguo. And guiar as well. Quesadilla, quizás. Muy bien. Vowel pairs. All right. Vowel pairs are anytime you have two vowels together, they're vowel pairs. Okay? So I tried to write kind of how they sound, but for this exercise, I'm just going to take those off and so you focus on the word. All right? And you can write your own way that they sound to you, but whatever helps. All right? I'm going to say first, I'm going to read the vowel pairs out loud like a, a. And then I'm going to say the word because you will feel it in a different way. It'll be more clear to you. All right? So here we go. A, distraer. A, paisa. A, chao. A, ausente. A, jalear. Seis. Leona. EU, deuda. IA, días. IE, pies. IO, río. IU, diurna. UA, igual. UE, suerte. UI, ruinas. UO, dúos. Ayer, re, pijama, doy, suyo, y, Kenia, contribuyen, Fiji, construyo, Yucatán. Muy bien. If you have trouble with a word like contribuyen, break it down into its syllables. Con, tri, bu, yen. Okay? We'll practice that more in a minute. All right. Cool. Accents, last but not least. So Spanish has accents, all right, on some words, not on all of them. When you see an accent, it means you're going to emphasize that letter more. All right, so we're going to do an exercise. You're going to take your hand, and when you say the letter with the accent, you're going to like make a throwing motion, like you're throwing it out. Okay, here we go. Día. Caminé. Dándolos. Very good. What about words that don't have accents, like these? How do you know where to put the emphasis? And there are 3 rules, all right? So we're going to tell you the rules right now. How to read words without accents on them, okay? The first rule is if the word ends in a consonant, you emphasize the last syllable like this. Comer, ciudad, profesor. If the word ends in a vowel, N or S, you emphasize the second to last syllable like this. Todos, comida, joven. Okay? In these words, like todos, okay, the second to last syllable also happens to be the first syllable because there are only 2 syllables. Todos. All right? But in comida, it's a little more obvious. It's the second to last. Comida. Muy bien. Third rule. If the word ends in an ia, io, or ie, you emphasize the third to last syllable like this. Distancia. Principio. Especie. Now, some people like to tell me, well, isn't ia like one syllable? In English, it wouldn't be considered that. Distancia. In Spanish, they do feel like it's one syllable. So to them, it follows the vowel rules because it ends in a vowel. But to us in our English ears, it's really distancia, right? These are 2 syllables, not one. So the third to last would be tan, distancia. All right? And if you add an S to these particular words, distancias, these would maintain that third to last syllable. Distancias, principios, especies. Okay? But any other word that ends in an S would follow that rule. Okay? Muy bien. Here we go. Let's practice. Día. Todavía. Comí. Dará. Comerá. Papá. Papa. All right. And do you know the difference between papa and papa? Papa means father and papa means potato. So don't call your dad a potato unless you mean it. And fun fact, okay, is they call the Pope El Papa, the potato. That is true because In Italian, it's papa. So they took it from Italian, but in Spanish, that actually means potato. Okay. So here we go. Hable. Hable. Tome. Tome. Hablo. Hablo. Dormió. Brújula. Cúpula. Taboo. And felicidades, congratulations, you've now said all of the sounds in the Spanish language. Awesome work. Buen trabajo. All right? So now it's just a matter of practice. Okay? So underneath this video, we have a couple of Quizlet flashcards. The first one has the words that we just went over, and the second one has random letters mixed together. So you can see here, how would you say that? Up.
Up.
Iu.
You.
Ba.
Ba.
If you get one wrong, you can go ahead and click the starred button. All right. Some are going to be kind of weird, but just do your best. Like a couple of them you would never really see. I don't know if I can find one. You might never see a couple of them, but no big deal. All right. This is an excellent practice because Spanish words are basically combinations of these letters here. So if you can read these, then you can definitely put these together and read entire Spanish words. All right. So very valuable exercise. If you don't want to cheat, turn your sound off. All right. So that you can test yourself and then check it with the volume button.
Sí.
Okay. Cool. Muy bien. That is it. ABC sounds. Guys, that is the most important lesson in your Spanish life. I promise this one makes the biggest difference long term. If you learn this now, everything else is easier. And when you go on Google Translate and you type things in and you can actually read things the right way, you can learn those words properly the first time around. It's just the most valuable skill. So get to work, start studying, and let us know any questions you have, and we'll see you in the next video. Buen trabajo.